Welcome to another Sales Wisdom Pod. We have Thos Gibson with us and Jeremy Woods. They're both the co-founders at Cold to Sold, an AI tool that has people spend more time on the closing side rather than on the outbound side. So quite useful. We're gonna rapid fire ask them a bunch of questions today. This podcast is presented to you by podfire.com. If you want to start or scale your podcast, go to podfire.com. Welcome, both of you guys. Maybe a quick intro on each side, and then we can dive into what you're doing nowadays.
Yeah, thanks for having us. I'm Thos Gibson, co-founder of Cold to Sold. I've been in the sales game for some time, probably about 20 plus years at this point, and happy to be on the podcast.
Yeah. Hey, Charles, I'm Jeremy, also co-founder of Cold to Sold. I've been in the sales arena for about 5 years now. Before that, I was in the arts. It was an interesting transition, but this is what's going on now. It's very exciting.
Very cool. And tell me a bit more about the tool C2S.
Yeah, so C2S is a automation tool where we're coupling hand in hand executive level conversations at the very beginning of the cold call. So rather than have the guys with the least amount of experience cold calling and making that first impression, Jeremy and I have both been in executive level positions. So we're actually doing the calls ourselves, but we're leveraging AI, an AI tool to do that through multi-channel outreach.
Multi-channel, so email, calls, LinkedIn. How can you compete with tools like Clay or Apollo and all of that?
Say that one more time.
Yeah, how can you compete with tools like Clay, Apollo, these big shots with multiple millions in funding?
So that's a really good question. I'm going to take that one, Jeremy, unless you want to jump in.
Yeah, absolutely. Go ahead.
So the way we're able to compete is really quality over quantity. So for us, we're scaling up at this point in time. We're looking for a specific amount of accounts. That way we can focus on those accounts, giving them the highest quality service possible. So really, it's more of like a boutique enterprise at this point.
Right. And it's really a tool, like I'm on your website here. So it's AI texting sort of so that the back and forth is done that way. And do you convert these clients through a Calendly link? How does that work?
That's correct. So it's one platform where everything's built in. So we actually have calendars that are integrated in with the sales tool, the sales people that we're working with. So it's actually really easy. We're using about 5 different channels, like you said. It's going to be LinkedIn, it'd be Facebook, Instagram, SMS, email, and phone calls. Right. So we're trying to take all of those multi-channels and then incorporate it into a single pane of glass, so you can see every single conversation right there in front of you.
Right. And it's hybrid SaaS and agency models. So there's still humans involved.
Yeah, so it's actually much more of a human lift than it is an AI lift at this point in time. And really that's where we find our competitive edge.
Okay, got it. Do you want to emphasize on the SaaS aspect of the company and go more software rather than human in the future?
Yeah, so what we want to do is we actually want to break that portion out and create a separate channel. So we want to continue to have our deluxe, or what we call our autopilot system. And then we also have a co-pilot system that we're piloting at this point in time as well.
Interesting. So, how many clients do you have? Who do you target, and how do you reach out to them?
So I'll let Jeremy expand on this, but we find that riches are in the niches. So actually, my background is in agriculture, specifically controlled environmental agriculture. So growing plants indoors and scaling into those large vertical farms. So we focused there first. That's kind of where we started. We just kicked off last year. And that's it. Right now, we probably have about 10 to 15 clients that we're servicing at this point.
The
Yeah, I'll
vertical.
piggyback. I'll piggyback on that. The thing that we found, specifically for the people that we work best with, is that there are a number of things that line up. Brand recognition on their side and a little tenacity on our side. What we found from conversations with their sales team is they're usually just too busy to go in and dive into the outbound portion of their sales experience, their sales products. They've got a lot of customers that they're trying to deal with. They've, you know, in my experience, if I was ever dealing with 4 or 5 clients who are right on the cusp of making the deal, the very last thing that I'm thinking about day in and day out is sitting down and doing my outbound, right? I'm always trying to close the deals that are here in front of me. And the fact for most of these folks is that their time can be better spent closing the deals that they have. So bringing cold to sold and warming up some of their, you know, some of their lists that have gone cold. It just makes the process for their sales team easier. It makes the buying experience for their customers a lot easier as well. So they don't feel like they're just constantly being inundated with impersonal emails or text or what have you.
Right. So let's say that I get a bunch of responses from my cold email campaigns. The call to action is like, hey, can we book a call, or can I send you more information? And then I send them more information or send them my link and get crickets. What's missing at that step? How do you convert someone that actually said yes into an actual call?
That's a great question. I'll take this one. So we just presume that people are busy, right? The business world is chaotic and it's super busy, and just because they didn't, especially if it's an email outreach, we have no idea whether or not they actually got that. Now, if you've got something like HubSpot where you can see if they clicked it, you know, then you've got some more insight into what's happening with that lead. But a lot of people don't. A lot of people, they're not using HubSpot. They're not using something where they can see what's happening with that email. So you're right. It's just crickets. What happened, right? So that's where we love reaching out to those people, because that's somebody who raised their hand and said, "I want help," right? So if we've got a phone number to call, we call and we, you know, we try to be respectful. We're not trying to bother people, but I just have to assume that they're busy.
Right. So like, let's say that they didn't reply to that email of booking the call. Like, do you put them in some tag in your CRM so that you can follow up until they book a meeting? Is it about keep on selling that meeting and keep on projecting the potential value of them accepting the call with you?
Yeah, I think whenever you get into that scenario, it's personal touch, because I'm sure just like me, you get a million emails a day or 1,000 emails a day where you're opening it and then you're deleting it. So to Jeremy's point on HubSpot, you can see that someone opened the email, but it doesn't mean that they're interested at that point. So that personal touch is really what we bring to the table. And as soon as you get someone on the phone and they realize that you're a human being and you're not a call center and you're not someone that's just, you know, beating on their door so that you can sell them something, like trying to understand from top down, what do they want to accomplish? That's kind of where we come in and help guide them back towards the sales team and the sales process.
Right. What about cold calls nowadays? Is AI there yet, like Google duplex stuff? And if not, like, how do you approach cold calls and make them effective in terms of lead gen?
Yeah, I'll jump in here. So I'd say AI is not there unless it's a call center and you're trying to collect bills. Maybe that kind of cold calling works. But I would say at this point in time, people still want to know that you're a human being, that someone is actually calling them that cares. Anytime they feel like you're just using their phone number and you're using them, it's an automatic hang up. One of Jeremy's favorite lines is someone answers, will say, "Hey, just want to let you know this is a cold call up front. If you want to hang up on us now, you can, or you can give us 30 seconds to tell you what we're talking about."
Interesting. So, what are your goals this year in terms of clients? Like, how can you scale from 10 to 20 clients?
Yeah, so scaling from 10 to 20 clients is obviously going to require us to bring a little more infrastructure in, bring in some additional callers. But on the other side, we're looking to scale to about 200 on the software co-piloting side. So we're kind of focusing on a 2 lanes at this point. One is the autopilot continuing to deliver that quality service, that high quality service, and then bringing on additional callers. And at the same time, we want to create our software package in a way that really makes it's a no-brainer offer where people sign up for that, and then they can actually benefit from the insight and the understanding that Jeremy and I have developed over time using these tools.
Interesting. What do you foresee in the world of AI and sales for this year? Do you think that AI callers will actually become a thing this year with like the advent of technologies like GPT-5 that are projected to become real this year? I very much think that, and even with the current GPT-4, I think that AIs could handle a very nice conversation. I've been testing tools like, I believe it's called Humble AI. I'm gonna find the link by the end of this call, but it's like literally a nice conversation with an AI and makes a lot of sense, way more sense than much more human. So, what are you seeing on the AI sales level this year?
Jeremy, feel free to jump in, or I'll answer this one.
I'd say I'll begin, and I imagine you've got some specific thoughts to our industry. So AI is a little bit like the Wild West. There's no telling where it's going. The understatement is that it's developing quickly and more quickly than anybody really understands. So there are a ton of ways that you can lean on AI, especially in something like a text outreach, where we've got just a handful of ways that the conversation could possibly go. All of that can easily be handled with the AI. But when people start to bring their own specific problems to a conversation, that's when it needs to be passed off to somebody who can really funnel that to the correct team member, the correct company. We work with a number of different companies who are all fulfilling a different need in that industry. And it may be a situation where somebody is right on the cusp of getting ready to go. If we can encourage them to go ahead and talk to one of our clients, and as opposed to maybe putting that off until later, that most of the time that's going to require conversation.
Yeah, and to tag onto what Jeremy said and to answer your question, yeah, someone's going to do it at some point in time. Someone's going to crack the code and understand how to have those AI conversations without human involvement. However, at this point in time, as soon as someone realizes that they're talking to an AI or a bot, they kind of become a little pissed off, right? They feel used, abused, they feel cheated, slighted. So really, how do you gain that trust and still use an AI tool? I think that's the biggest hurdle that you have to overcome when implementing a completely anonymous AI or autonomous AI into cold calling.
Right. Well, thanks to both of you. Where can people find out more about the company?
Yeah, so c2s-ai.com.